welcome. My name is Caitlin Adams, and I am here with Stu Crosby, and we are going to talk about Qi Gong and his journey with Qi Gong, what it is, and how you can benefit from it. So, Stu, do you want to jump right in with how
Sure.
you found Qi Gong?
Back around 2000, my ex-wife and I were looking for something to do together, and we came across a combination Tai Chi Qi Gong class, and we would learn little bits of the Tai Chi form at a time, but the majority of the class was spent doing various forms of Qi Gong. Mostly, my teacher at the time focused a lot on doing standing meditation, which is very still. You can have your arms in side posture or in the tree hugging pose, as I nicknamed it, and it's been really I guess it's been very beneficial for me.
What are some of the biggest benefits you've seen in your life?
Well, it really changed me. I was a very different person. It softened me, but in a way that's like, not a doormat to be walked upon, but
Right.
just softened me and allowed me to, I learned some valuable stuff like just let stuff happen. Qigong and Tai Chi both come out of the philosophy of Taoism, and I always say, don't let that scare you. It's not a religion. It's just a philosophy.
Good.
Don't think that like, oh, this is going to go against what my church believes. It's just basically a way of looking at nature, living within the rhythms of that system. Eating certain ways at certain times of year, like winter, it's mostly root vegetables and things like that stuff. Warming, and the summer times cooler things, and just recognizing that we're not separate from the world around us. We're in a system. We're a human animal who has a brain that thinks it's much more important than it really is, and it keeps telling us that all the time. And so, one of the things about Taoism in this manifestation is, when you're doing an hour-long posting or standing meditation, you get real familiar with what's not comfortable. And I've often equated meditation and standing meditation as getting familiar with being uncomfortable, and also paying attention to what rises up from within, because you may not know what you're up to that day, and then you're driving around barking at everybody and getting into road rage situations. But you're really like, if you take the time to get still, you're like, boy, I'm still upset about something that maybe happened 10 years ago. So it's good to know what's up that day, and then to respond to it rather than react to it. And the physical benefits, I keep saying I'm so much, I'm sorry. My speech teacher in college would be whacking me with this.
No one's going to whack you here.
Points. And so balance has been greatly improved. I've always been into other arts like juggling. I've been juggling since I was 12, so I've been doing that over 40 years.
I know you've even shared some stories about fall prevention.
Oh yeah.
You caught yourself a few times.
Yeah, both the reaction speed from juggling for so long has built up some crazy reflexes that I don't even watch happen. I just watch happen. It's just like, whoa, I caught that. I didn't even know it was following you. So that's juggling. I've had situations where, we live in Gainesville, Florida, and the right time of year, everything's pretty slimy, because of rain and mold and stuff. And so, there's been instances where my legs have shot out from underneath me, but then like suddenly just like a catching yourself and grounding and just being like, thank you, Qi Gong, because I really almost fell down some stairs, and it's been interesting to see that, if there's one thing I can recommend, it's like, I've been juggling for 40 some odd years. I've been drawing and painting for more than that. I've been studying Qi Gong and Tai Chi for over 20 years. I recommend anybody, and it takes time, pick up some form of art, some form of discipline, some form of thing, and don't be impatient with it and think like, well, all right, I've gotten it, that's good enough for me. Like, just staying with something for decades, and then you look back and you're like, you're just like, wow, there's benefits that have come out of this that I never would have known.
Yeah, there's a lot to be gained by sticking with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like Tai Chi and Qigong in particular, because when you see a master do it, it looks so easy and fluid. And I've seen a lot of people come in and they move their hands, or like, well, that doesn't look good, I'm done, I'm out. And that's not where the practice is.
Yeah, I've seen so many people come in, learn the full length of the Tai Chi form, and say, well, that's it, no more need to come to class. And one of the things that I really enjoy about being in classes and teaching classes is the camaraderie, because these disciplines, devotions. I always love Pavarotti's quote. I don't know if you know. Somebody said, "Wow, you're one of the best tenors in the world. You must have been really disciplined to learn this." And he goes, no, I was devoted. He goes, discipline means I have to hit myself with a stick every morning to get myself to go do it. Devoted means I love doing this, and I love the benefits I get from it. Rise to meet your practice rather than guilt yourself into doing it. It becomes a lot less fun when you're kind of fighting with yourself over something. Look forward to it, and then afterwards be grateful for the opportunity to do it. And that's where the camaraderie comes in. That's what I love. It's like, I'm just like anybody else. I'm more likely to show up if somebody else is going to show up.
Definitely.
It really does help. I'm not perfect. I'm not doing anything anyone else isn't doing. In fact, I probably could have done a lot more over the years. But but to bemoan that is pointless. You do what you do, and you enjoy doing it. Hopefully. If not, find something else to do, frankly.
Exactly. And there's an element of accountability, but even more so than that, from a nervous system standpoint, which is my current interest, the nervous system really likes moving in sync with other humans. That's something we only do in safety, to mirror each other. And so when you're all flowing together through these postures, the nervous system is like, ooh, we're super safe.
Yeah.
So great calming benefits from that.
There is really something to be said about that. To be looking up and see that you're all moving in the same motion. Again, I go back to juggling because it's my most favorite thing to do. The most people I've ever been in a pattern, we all had 3 clubs and we were all passing with each other, was 5 people in a star-shaped pattern.
Wow.
And every third throw, they all cross in the middle, and it doesn't last long. And that's the thing is, from that discipline and this, you learn detachment. But the times that I've clicked in with other jugglers like that, there's no other form of communication that I've ever experienced that's so just unified. Like, it always ends in laughter because it becomes like an inside joke. Nobody's saying anything, but there's this rhythm and this clicking happening and the sound of the clubs hitting our hands. And then all of a sudden something goes a little bit wrong and somebody flinches and we all feel it, and then it falls apart and we all just fall on the ground laughing.
Yeah, humans are so in tune with each other. We really discount that.
It really is, and more so, one of my favorite things, and I want to bring this into the class that we're going to be unfolding on Tuesday nights at 6:30.
And we'll have links to that in the description.
Is we're going to also do like a 2-person pattern exercise called Tway Show, which has been translated into Pushing Hands, which is a great Only movie by that same title, if you can find it. I think it's on YouTube. And also, it's been translated into my favorite way is sensing hands, because we're moving with each. It's like contact improv, which I have a hard time saying. You're just moving with somebody. And it becomes almost like a third thing comes in, and is you're following that thing moving. Not like a seance or anything, Ouija or anything. It's just you're moving with somebody, and you can't tell who's leading. It's like, I haven't done a lot of dancing in my life, but when you find a good rhythm and you're dancing together, there's no one leading, it's just happening. And that's what Taoism is just letting it happen. Nature's always got a much better plan than we do, and maybe you use that synonymous, nature, God, universe, or none of the above, or you just, nature, the nature of the world around us. Qi Gong, I believe, is a pursuit of that, in that we're a human body, weighs X amount of pounds, and it's in this electrical, fluidy air system that we live and breathe in, but it's training you to respond to gravity in that field, because we have several choices with gravity. We can resist it and hold up against it, and that could be because injury, emotion, or whatever, or just, fear or daily pressure. And then that gets locked in our body, and it takes people like ourselves to come in and be massage therapists and Reiki practitioners to help release that tension. Or we can practice with Qigong and Tai Chi and learn to stack our bones in a way that allows us to relax a little bit more. And one of the frustrations I have teaching this is I wish I could just, grab somebody and just be like, jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. This is how you relax. It's what's kind of frustrating about being a massage therapist, because I've been doing massage for over 20 years this year, and you can't say things to people like, okay, well, just relax.
No.
Yeah, because
you don't know how to.
Yeah, I used to have an acupuncturist who would tell me at the end of every session, she would say, okay, this week, no stress. No stress. And I was like, if I could do that, I wouldn't be here. I would be somewhere else, be in no stress.
Well, you actually use Qigong to help you in a very stressful job.
Oh yeah. I used to do Tai Chi, the first third of the Tai Chi form in my little cubicle. And the way my desk was set up, I had to add one extra step to kind of get the second part of that first third in right. And I stacked my desk up on reams of paper and my computer monitor. And I would field telephone calls from quite irate people screaming at me, and everyone in my office kind of made fun of me and everything. But I would sit there and tick a box every time I did that first third, and my goal was to do like an auspicious number, like 108 rounds. And the days that I achieved that, I would walk out of there just feeling like golden light, like. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Amelie, but when she leads that blind man around and then she leaves him and he just kind of blows up in golden light. I mean, it's like, that's how I was walking out of the building at the end of the day, instead of what I had previously done, which was walk home, grind my teeth, go home, grind my teeth, and escape into television. But then I started doing this, and then I canceled my television and got rid of my television. Which I'm not recommending to everyone to do. That was just what I did at the time. I watch stuff now, but it was a different currency to have at the end of the day than what I had previously, because I was leaving out of there better than I had gone in, which
that's huge.
Which was really tough to do at that job. It was a child support enforcement customer service line, and nobody calls that line when they're happy eating. Nobody's coming up with some attaboys for me that day. So, it was very stressful, and you had to, and in fact, it got to be to the point where other people were transferring their very irate people to me because everything just became like, water off a duck's back. I wasn't, what's that Four Agreements book? That's also a really wonderful near Taoist kind of approach. And one of them is don't take things personally.
Right.
And
the good and the bad. It's not about you.
It's really not, you got to let go of the criticism and the compliments,
That humility.
Yeah, they say the mountain is neither moved by praise or condemnation. It's just the mountain. So, I don't think I'm quite mountain yet, but I'm trying. And that's another thing I encourage people to do is, yes, pick up a discipline, try it on for decades, or a devotion rather. I'm sorry. But at the same time, I just lost my train of thought. Pick something that's hard, because
juggling's not easy.
no, and everyone, often thinks everything is just relatable. I have a degree in fine art, and so everyone thinks like, oh, well, you should be able to paint this or do that, or spray paint a mural. And I'm like, I've never done those things. Like, just because I know
Then
some
draw my
of
picture.
just because I know some of the art doesn't mean I know all of the art. And with Qigong, the amount of information that's out there to practice, and the amount that hasn't even yet been translated from 5,000-year-old texts and stuff is an immense thing, and rightly so, because it's talking about our body system and our energy system. And Qigong was created for two purposes. One, because acupuncturists, if you go with the flow of what's going on there, they're actually using their own energy, their Qi, their electromagnetic field, to heal other people. It's not just that the needles have anything special in them. The practitioners using their knowledge, their intention, and their focus to work these different points in the meridians and figuring out that puzzle of, there's hundreds of points. So it was created in a way to recharge the acupuncturist batteries, get them back up to snuff so they're not just burning their own energy down to nothingness. Because once the well's dry, it's dry. There's not much left to talk about. And then the other thing was an acknowledgement that these monks and practitioners back in the day they recognize that they want to be on a path of enlightenment, and they're realizing, boy, this takes a long time. So I better come up with something that keeps me young, keeps me vital, keeps my life force going, so that I have the longevity to hopefully get close to my goal of finding enlightenment. And I'm not very close to that, but
you're enjoying the ride.
But I'm enjoying it because there's always something to learn, and how wonderful is that? If I ever reached the point where I was just like, got it, all right, I nailed Qigong. I haven't even, I've been doing it for 20 years and I'm still skimming the surface like a stone, being thrown across the lake.
That's the approach that I take. There's always more to learn. I liken a lot of it to Reiki, because that's just where I have more of a depth of knowledge. And you talk about moving energy. A lot of the Qigong postures that we do feel just like when the Reiki energy is really flowing, because it's the same energy.
Yeah, you can go right on, and we live in a marvelous time. I don't know what's the next wave, but right now there's so much information. When I was coming up, you couldn't even find books on these things. It was such a rarefied thing. You'd go to like Walden Books or B. Dalton or something back in the day in the 80s. And what was there is what was there. Now we have YouTube, and on a daily basis I'm being recommended all these Qigong forms for various things. That in part is what Qigong healing is. I don't practice that, but there's a lot of forms on YouTube where they're like, oh, do you have issues with your lungs? Here's the prescription. And this is what would happen back in the day. You get sick or something, or some ailment comes up, and you'd go to the acupuncturist, and then they would also say, okay, well, here, I want you to do 9 rounds of this when you get home, and 9 rounds of this one. There's always these auspicious 9s and 33s and 108s. And they would give you that homework, and you would go home and do it, and they would get better, because it's all tied into the meridian system. And if you're familiar and use acupuncture, this goes right along with you. I think the 2 schools here in Gainesville, they both have Qigong as part of the curriculum.
Yes.
Which, if you're an acupuncturist, it really does behoove you to learn Qigong, because then you can teach your clients and give them homework and have the, aid in the healing when you're not there. But also, we live in a world where the money is an important thing. And so it's a great side hustle for an acupuncturist, especially when they're starting out, to have their own class and have some of their other patients come in and take a class and learn some Qigong. The Qigong I like to teach is really simple. I know several, but I like to teach around 6 to 8 different forms, because there is a tendency for people to become what is known as form collectors. And believe me, there's some forms out there. I mean, you can probably, I've seen it, and one of my favorites is a swimming dragon Qigong. And I've seen 8 different versions of that, and some of them are like, wow, you don't even look alike, you don't even look the same. And it, and from my understanding of the one I know, some of these ones don't do the same thing. So I'm like, well, I don't know why it's called that, but it doesn't matter, because I don't. But
getting caught up in labels.
Oh yeah, and so it's just, you really want to keep it simple, because you're going to learn 80 forms, and then who's got time to do 80 forms every day? I mean, you can really, I mean, if you want to, go for it. That might be a great year. If you've got the time, the money to, sequester yourself and just do Qigong all day. Hey,
That sounds awesome.
I feel like, I can do that.
Maybe summer when I'm hibernating and not going outside, I'll just stay inside and do Qigong in the air conditioning.
Exactly. But yeah, there's, I don't know anything about yoga. I'm sure there's lots and lots of practitioners who enjoy yoga, but I enjoy Qigong, and I've stuck with it, and I really enjoy it.
I've actually been incorporating some of the Qigong I've learned from your classes into my yoga classes.
Wonderful, that's amazing.
Yeah, the students are enjoying it. I mean, the style of yoga that I teach is very rooted in feeling into your body and, approaching it with curiosity. How does that feel? What if you were to adjust this small thing, stacking your body differently? The way that you talk about stacking the spine and finding what's that term for when you're
the tonic pressure?
Yes.
Yeah. In massage school, I learned that term, tonic pressure, and what that is it's the minimal. Well, it's the amount of force that it takes you to just hold your body upright. We all do it all day long. If we're upright, supine, we're probably not going to do it too much, or prone. But when we're walking around, there's a certain amount of pressure to inflate your body that we do, and we're either fighting that with our tension, or we're allowing it. And that's one of, I think, the greatest benefits of Qigong is finding. One of my massage teachers in school. I should mention names, but he's a practitioner in town here named Frank Marilot, and he's an amazing person. Go take a session from him. But he would constantly be saying, how can this be softer? How can this be lighter? He would come around as we're all doing our massages in school, and what would happen if you rested your shoulders a little bit more? How could you make this softer and still do the same thing? I studied craniosacral with a man named Hugh Mel, and he said a lot of things very similar. He would have us do sensing hands in class whenever we would partner with somebody before we get on the table to kind of unify our rhythms, and then we would practice this very subtle form of massage, craniosacral therapy. and he would have us be, and he would take us. He goes, okay, now you're moving with each other at the weight of a dime. The pressure is just the weight of a dime. Now it's an apple. Now it's 4 apples. Now it's a bushel of apples. Can you maintain that flow at a high level of pressure, 40 pounds, or can you do it at the pressure of the weight of a dime? And that was a very interesting practice to do, and I want to bring that into these classes as well.
And I'm sure that plays a role in, you said you had a 20-year massage career. I don't know the actual average length of a massage career, but I know it's a lot less than that.
Oh yeah, I've heard the statistic be 5 to 7 years, and I've also heard it be 3 to 5, because I've always tried to be really soft, gentle, and use really proper body mechanics. That's a huge takeaway from the Tui Show, the Sensing Hands, and the Qi Gong, is learning how to move and be gentle and still connect. And then having the proper posture and mechanics so that that you're using. This is the woo-woo stuff, but it's like when you release to gravity, and you can get really. I've gotten to the point where I can be mostly just in my legs, and sometimes I can be where I'm just on my feet, where I'm just like rocking, and I'm just my feet on the ground is all I'm feeling, and yet I'm still upright and massaging, and just getting out of the way, which is a very Reiki principle as well. Is just get me and my ego to just go sit in the corner and twiddle their thumbs while I let it happen. And I tell you, when you surrender to gravity and then allow that to be the pressure that comes up out of the ground rather than like out of my shoulders, the quality is very noticeable to the clients. I work with a lot of people who are other massage therapists as well, and they often would be like, what are you doing? What do you're and I said, well, here, feel the difference if I'm doing this or if I'm just leaning in with gravity, because it's a force that gets ignored. I've seen one guy do a demonstration where he talks about, okay, well, I'm gonna let this go. Does anyone know where it's gonna go? And he's like, is it gonna go that way or that way? And he's like, oh, big surprise, it went there. Like, there's something here that for the majority of the day, myself included, we're ignoring. There's a force, and you can use that, especially in body work, to generate that force without me having to do an extra thing to generate that force.
They even talk about it with CPR.
Oh,
you don't want to be doing compressions like that. You're never going to be able to do it. Having your arms locked and letting gravity in those bigger muscles versus pumping with your arms.
Yeah, or not even using your muscles at all. I mean, I'm a pretty big guy. All I have to do is lean forward, and there's a noticeable change in the pressure.
So if I go down now, I'm safe. You can do that CPR.
I'll have to look it up on Google. How many pumps again? It's been a while since I get my CPR merit badge.
Oh, well, yes. So if you're listening to Stu and you're like, that's what I want, that's what I need in my life, we are going to be resuming Qigong over at Heart Mind Healing. So definitely come out and practice with us. Right now it's going to be on the schedule starting in March for Tuesdays at 6:30, and I'll have all those links in the description, links to some of the things we talked about, and any other links that Stu thinks of between now and when I hit the publish button, which something tells me there'll be at least one resource in there. And I think one of the great things to end with, so your name even has a story. So why do we call you Stu?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, my real name is Stephen Crosby. That's my legal name. But when but maybe that's why I got busted. No, I like the name Steve. In case my mom's watching.
Hi, Mom.
Or in case she's not. But anyway, when I started massage school, at the time I was doing a lot of bowling. And when you go to the bowling alley, when you put your name in, you only get 3 letters that show up. And I was with a woman named Liz and Elizabeth, and so she put in Liz, and then my friend Brian put in Bri, and then mine said Ste. And so I was like, I don't like to be, you're Liz and you're Brian and I'm Ste. And so I changed it to Stu just to make it like a little name, but it was right before I went to massage school. And then the first day they had this opportunity, Paul Davenport, who was the director of the school, had us all circle up. And he said, you know, these are 72 people that you've never met before. They don't know if you're shy or angry or loud or quiet. They don't know who you are. Nobody here knows who you are. So be a new person, be someone else if you want. And so, and it was right around that time that my friends were calling up going, hey Stu, wanna go bowling? And I was like, yeah, introduce me to Stu. And it grew from there because my philosophy, even before all this, was always, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would just be in college or somewhere or studying something. I've always enjoyed being a student. And so that became, for me, you know, because I don't know why there's the people who always like fool out your name. Like people are calling me Stuart all the time, and I'm like, well, no, it's not Stuart. And so I changed it over for a while to student of life, but then it just student seems pretty good. So that's what it means to me when people say Stu, because that's, you know, and that's why I love these devotions that, you know, I'll never learn every juggling trick, or I'll never paint the absolute painting that will shut me down and make me stop painting. And then Tai Chi and Qi Gong, you know, every time I do some of these forms, I'm like, oh, that's okay. If I relax that a little bit more,
there's always a new nuance.
Oh yeah, there's always an onion peel to take off. There's always something, or you read something and somebody says something. Just, you know, right before I came here, I just went through a drive-through at KFC, junk food guy, and the guy at the window, I go, hey, how's your day going? He goes, I can't complain. And he goes, I wouldn't complain anyway, because what's the point of complaining? He says, everyone hates complaining. You know, if you're upset with something, just change it. Don't complain, sit around complaining with it. And I'm like, man, we got like a Buddha sitting here handing me chicken out the window of this building, you know? Like,
teachers are everywhere.
Oh yeah, if you just take the time and be soft. I always think it's the freest thing in the world to be the nicest person in the room. So that for me is like Qigong and Taoism. It's taught me to be soft and taught me to be caring and patient with myself, which is the first part. That's the thing we can grab the most and work on the most. Maybe the only thing we can actually work on. But you know, if I can't be patient with myself, then, you know, I'm just gonna be barking at somebody all day long. And I've seen that. I've seen people who bark at people all day long. But it starts with softening yourself. And how do we do that? We stop resisting gravity. We allow the earth to embrace us. I say this a lot in class. One of my teachers always described gravity as a heavy dentist blanket, those lead blankets they put on you when they x-ray you, pushing down. But that's not really how gravity works. Gravity comes from the core, and it's trying to hug us almost. It's trying to embrace us, and if we resist it, then we're missing out on so much energy and so much force that can be used for good and directed in ways that help those we love and help heal people, and just be there for somebody. You know, you don't have to put your hands on somebody to heal them. This guy blows my mind at the KFC drive-thru, and God bless him. I said, you know, I'm going to carry that around with me for a couple of days. I really like that. And he was like, big smile. And you know, and so our teachers are everywhere. You know, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And this is part of that. Get ready.
Yes.
You know, because you never know where the lesson's going to come from. It might come from watching a bird do a dance in the yard and some gravel to try to wash itself off. And it's just, nature is got so many beautiful lessons for us. We just have to slow down.
And that's really the main way I prepared for this interview. I took about 10 minutes before Stu got here, and I was just slowly walking back and forth outside of the building, and it felt like the perfect way to get grounded and centered and ready to just be with you. So.
It made it easy to find the suite too.
Yes, that was the other. I figured it'd be helpful to be outside.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you so much, Stu, for joining. And any questions that you have for Stu, put them in the comments. I'm sure you'd be happy to come back and talk more.
Absolutely, part one.
Wonderful. Yes, part one of many.
And
So.
I look forward to this class. I hope to see some of you there.
Yes, anyone local to Gainesville, we would love to have you in class. And again, all those links will be in the description. Thank you.